What up, sports world? It's your boy Ego. Make sure you check out the ESPN Plus app. They got MLB and live sports. Opening day is among us. Watch Bryce Harper as he makes his debut with the Phillies after signing a record-breaking $300 million free agent contract. The app has a ton of exclusive and originals, like LeBron James is more than an athlete. They got UFC shows and boxing, including Tyson Fury's upcoming show and Vasyl Lomachenko. Sign up for your 7-day free trial. Link is in the description. Sign up now. Boom. Terence Crawford makes it absolutely clear that he wants to fight Errol Spence. He wants to prove he's the #1 welterweight. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, I just watched TMZ Sports. Shout out to them. Link is also in the description. I watched, they had an interview, it looked like they did a Skype call or whatever with Terence Crawford. He made it abundantly clear that he feels he's the best. He feels he has the most adaptable style. He's not afraid. He doesn't fear any style. And he was like real chill. Like, Terence Crawford, he has his middle. He's not typically too high up or too low. He don't go extreme highs or extreme lows, unless maybe if you provoke him like Hank Lundy, then you see the real competitive spirit. But he seemed like just chill. He's in camp for the AMIR fight April 20th. Should be a good stylistic matchup. Khan, is confident. Khan did do an interview also with TMZ Sports. He said something that I want to touch on. He said that he's like, Terence Crawford, his resume, he hasn't beat anyone. TMZ be like egging on, like instigating. They said Amir Khan, this is what the heading said. It said something like Amir Khan says Crawford fought all bums. And I'm like, oh shit, he said that? And then I watched it. I didn't even hear him say nothing about no bums. But he did, I guess you could say allude to the fact that Crawford hasn't really beat anyone notable. But, it's different than putting words in someone's mouth. TMZ, I don't know why they do that. It'd be like, Conor McGregor said he's going to kick Mayweather's fucking ass. And then you watch the interview and he didn't even say those choice words. But whatever. But Khan did say, and I'm just paraphrasing, he said that, I would be undefeated most likely too if I fought everyone, that Crawford fought, because he hasn't really fought anyone. But Khan fought Bradis Prescott and he got knocked out in one round. And I know Terence Crawford fought him later, but he moved up in weight, took the fight against his own manager, Cameron Duncan, his wishes, and he took the fight on 2 weeks' notice, moved up from the weight class he was fighting at, 35 to I think 140, took the challenge last minute because he was confident, and then he beat Bradis Prescott easy. Now, that's just the reality. So what Amir Khan said, that's not entirely true, because you guys have a mutual opponent, and Crawford dogged Bradis Prescott, frustrated him. Bradis, watch the fight. I remember that fight. That's kind of one of the fights that put Crawford on, especially with Top Rank. They started, marketing him more and more and stuff, because they seen how talented he was given the circumstances, moving up, late notice, and then, it got better and better for him. But Bradis Prescott was frustrated in that fight. He didn't know what to do. It was just a different skill. And you could say, Amir Khan got caught. It doesn't change the fact that they have a mutual opponent and there's two different outcomes. So Amir Khan's statement actually doesn't really make sense. But, the other stuff, if you want to debate, could Khan beat Victor Postal, Felix Diaz, guys like Gamboa, whatever. But the Khan fight's a good stylistic matchup if Khan's at his best. He's got some sparring rounds in. I made a video, check that on the channel, with guys like Devin Haney. So we'll see on that regard. Speed-wise, this is probably the fastest guy that Crawford has faced outside of, since the Gamboa fight, I would say. And we'll see. But as far as Errol Spence, you guys seen the title of the video. He told TMZ Sports, he said, I want to fight him. He said, I think pretty much we're the biggest fight in boxing. That. And the other comparable fight would be Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, which I agree. I think those are probably the two biggest on-demand fights. Here's the thing. He says, stylistically, I feel I could compete. I'm not a slow guy by any means. I got speed. I got intelligence. I can bang, brawl, box. I'm switching stances. I'm ready. He said Errol Spence is good, but there's no man he fears. He's never turned down no fades. Just all stuff we know about Crawford, So, one, I like Crawford, doing more stuff and doing stuff like this with the TMZ or whoever to get his thoughts out there. I think it's good promotion for the Khan fight and just to build something. But me on my channel, I always try to keep it a buck. I love Crawford, love Errol Spence. They're, to me, the top 2 welterweights. Eventually, they're going to have to duke it out. But I don't see it happening. Here's why. I don't see it happening soon. I'm not saying I don't see it ever happening. Let me clarify that. Top rank, they don't really have anyone to feed Bud. You know, he's going to have to fight mandatories and mean machines and guys like that. If Khan, you know, if he gets past Khan, which he's the favorite to do. So I see why top rank, well, Crawford, he's just a competitor. So he's down to fight anybody. But as far as Bob Arum, we see Arum even vocal like, after the Khan fight, I'm going to send Al Heyman an offer to fight Terence Crawford. You know, you hear him saying this because they don't really have anyone. The world knows that Crawford is that boy. You know, he's one of them ones, that boy. So there's not really many high-profile fights. Like, you look at it, before Khan was announced as the opponent, they were talking about, you know, Terence Crawford versus Luis Collazo. When they announced that fight, or that was a potential person who could get the fight, it was met with a lot of resistance. People were like, oh, boo, you know, I don't want to see that because of how good. So Crawford's in a pickle because he re-signed with Top Rank, you know. Meanwhile, on the flip side, just like DAZN has the top middleweights outside of Charlo, outside of Crawford being on Top Rank, PBC has all of the top level guys, you know, from Andre Berto, Devin Alexander, to the guys with a lot of momentum like Errol Spence, you know, Mikey Garcia. We have to decide what weight he's going at, but they still got Danny Garcia. They got Shawn Porter, who's a champion. They got Ugas, who arguably beat Porter, depending on who you ask. Adrian Broner has fought at that. Maidana's talking about coming back with Al Heyman. So really, the best fights are on PBC. So they realize that, they know that, and I don't think PBC is afraid to make the Crawford fight, but they are going to do it on their terms because it gives their fighter, Errol Spence, who's looking like the standout in the welterweight class with PBC. Again, he has to fight Porters and Danny Garcias and Keith Thurmans and these guys to solidify that, but they're giving him the best ammunition to, when they do have to co-promote with Top Rank, to be in that driver's seat. And I think that's more so. I don't have any doubt that Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, you know, would be competitive enough to want to fight right now if it was just solely up to them. But the thing is, you got people in suits, you got businesses. PBC knows Errol Spence is, you know, the man. People know that Terence Crawford is a desired fight on the other side of the street. But now I think it becomes like what we all know, you know, Cold War, political battle. He even says this, Terence Crawford saying this in the interview with TMZ. He's saying, no doubt, I'll take the fight, you know, so it's up to my team and Bob Arum try to sit with Al Heyman. Everybody knows the politics. Like, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm not making up anything. So, you know, I think Terence Crawford, he's in a position, he's not in the same type of position because I don't know. I like the AMIR fight, but, you know, I don't know how many people like it, you know, so that's one thing. I don't think it's going to have as many seats sold as, you know, AT&T Stadium at Jerry's World. So Errol Spence, he keeps growing and growing and growing in popularity, and he has more people that he can fight on his side already. And you can't not, how can you knock? Shawn Porter has more fights than Terence Crawford at welterweight, and this is what I've been saying. You know, I think Crawford and Spence are the top two guys, but, you know, it wouldn't be fair to hate on, from a realistic, aside from our own selfish wants of wanting to see and our perception of who we think is the best, Spence and Terence Crawford, you can't hate on Errol Spence versus Shawn Porter, because Shawn Porter has been in there with Andre Berto, stopped him. He's been in there with Danny Garcia, beat him for a belt. He just fought Ugas, you know, who stopped Ray Robinson, a guy who does have a win in the amateurs over Terence Crawford, right? He already went in there with Keith Thurman and arguably beat him. He already beat Adrian Broner, right? He fought, you know, Julio Diaz. He stopped Paulie Malignaggi. He fought Granados, who Danny Garcia is recently fighting. So at welterweight, how can you gripe because you don't like Shawn Porter's style or you think he lost to you guys? He still comes in with a heavy resume at this weight class, and he has a belt. just like Crawford has a belt, and it's a ready-made, easy fight to make because, you know, it didn't look like Porters were necessarily looking at Errol Spence, but now the pressure is for them to fight Errol Spence. And they're already with the same promoter and, the same staff and all that, PBC, Fox, or Showtime. So it's an easy fight to make. So, I feel for Crawford because he's kind of too good for he's too good for his own good. He's over there with Top Rank, and they just don't have it's not like Top Rank years ago where they had Manny Pacquiao, Jesse Vargas, Brandon Rios was doing well, Mike Alvarado was doing well, and all these fights, Ruslan Provodnikov, Timothy Brown, they don't have that anymore. So I think it becomes a game of power and chess moves. I don't think either side per se is afraid to make the fight, but strategically, Errol Spence is in a better spot because he just sold out. He has this working relationship, and he's done good numbers in Jerry Jones facilities, which are big venues in Texas, right? Crawford does well in Omaha, sure, but he just did like 47.5 on pay-per-view. He did, 360, 380,000 pay-per-views. And that was against a guy moving up 2 weight classes. And Errol Spence just beat Mikey Garcia, which is a big name. Mikey has not looked like that. We've seen Amir Khan stop. So even though I think personally Amir Khan is a good stylistic matchup for Crawford, and he's available, we've seen Khan stop. So, Crawford could only, just make it look one-sided and possibly stop Khan. We had never seen Mikey Garcia look like that. So I think this is more a game of tug of war. And based on the PBC and Al Heyman and the chess move and who they have the position to take their top welterweight and really put them in the driver's seat. If you make the Errol Spence fight from a business perspective, and I'm not saying this is what I prefer as a fan, right? But you see it. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence have been pitted against each other a lot recently, but we still haven't even got Joshua versus Wilder. That fight has been like lingering because they were always in the heavyweight division together. Crawford just moved up, so it's going to take time. You see Wilder versus Joshua is taking time. Joshua and Fury, they've always been in the heavyweight division, and it took time. Because you have these opposing sides. So I don't see why people are acting so shook and like they can't fucking understand this simple mathematics when it comes to two different sides, Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn and Al Heyman in these massive fights, they take time. Whether you like it, whether you respect it or whatever, that's the reality of it, And I think they're positioning Errol Spence, and they have the chess pieces to do it to the point where when they do fight, we're going to know who the A side is, not necessarily based on like skill or whatever, but it's because Errol Spence is going to have the ability to prove himself with the better names and the deeper roster and potentially do pay-per-views. If you fight Shawn Porter, that's probably going to be on pay-per-view. So, you're going to have Shawn Porter versus Errol Spence probably on pay-per-view. It's going to do whatever numbers it does. Plus, you're going to look at his fight with Mikey Garcia. That did 360 to 380,000. Sold out 47.5. And he's going to keep tallying. Who's Crawford going to fight to do the numbers? Jose Benavidez 2, Mean Machine, Amir Khan, whatever numbers that does. So, that's what I think it boils down to. So I don't see the fight happening next because they're going to strengthen Errol Spence's bargaining chips and position. And, Crawford, he re-upped with top rank. He liked it. He liked the flow of everything. So this is this is part of the decision-making process that he went with, being over on the side that didn't have all the welterweights. So we knew this was a potential problem. And I think, like I said, they're just going to try to align Errol Spence and make it abundantly clear when they do fight who the A side is. So, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, similar thing. Pacquiao was doing million-plus buys too, but Mayweather was doing more. When they were first talking about it, Pacquiao had a little bit more leverage to say like, hey, man, I fought Cotto, I fought Hatton, and they did $1.4 million, so he had like, the numbers were not quite what Mayweather was doing, but he still had some really good numbers. But then it got to the point where Pacquiao was fighting Rios and Algiers and stuff like that, and he got knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez. So it got to the point where we knew Floyd was still the bigger draw because he was fighting guys like Victor Ortiz doing numbers, Shane Mosley. He was fighting guys like Canelo doing 2.4, 2.5 million, you know. So when it came back around, Maidana twice, when it came back around, we knew when Mayweather and Pacquiao, we knew exactly who was the A side. So Floyd could be like, you don't get 50-50, you get 60-40. You're not on my level. You haven't done events like the Canelo fight. You know, you done Claudio, Rios and stuff, blah, 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 Algieri. You know, your numbers are kind of dwindling and you got knocked out. So I think that's kind of a similar situation. They're trying to make it so clear that Errol Spence is the A side and they have the players to do it in-house. And finally, the last thing I would say, for the people who are angry at the PBC for this jockeying for position for A-side leverage, Top Rank does it too. You know, Tyson Fury could easily have fought Wilder, but they got their own plans for him. So this is a matter of, you know, Al Haymon and PBC, they're not really doing anything that Top Rank hasn't done for years. You know, Pacquiao could have fought Floyd Mayweather. He didn't want to take a drug test. That's his fault. Pacquiao could have fought, when he was with Top Rank, Terence Crawford. You know, so why is there immediate rush when Pacquiao and Crawford were on the same side of the fence, both with Top Rank, and we never, I would love to see, I would have paid pay-per-view to see Crawford, you know, when he was beating the guys, Deary Jean, Hank Lundy, and he was like outclassing them and stopping them. I would have paid, because this is around the time where the names were, but they gave it to Jeff Horn. So how can people be mad at PBC when Top Rank had Pacquiao, who was doing well for himself? He beat Jesse Vargas for the WBO belt. And then he had Terence Crawford, who HBO wanted to see him fight. Arum said he wanted to see Crawford versus Pacquiao. And they never put that fight together. So now you got someone with a totally different ship, a totally different side of the street, which creates complications. You know, Al Haymon's doing his thing with Fox. Al Haymon's doing his thing with Showtime. Top Rank's doing their thing with ESPN. And now there's this immediate rush to make that fight. But when Pacquiao was with Top Rank and Crawford's been with Top Rank, they were both like rising. Pacquiao had the WBO from Jesse Vargas win, right? Why didn't Top Rank make that in-house fight that they could have easily? They gave it to Jeff Horn. And then Jeff Horn beat Pacquiao, and then Crawford had to beat Jeff Horn. So how you going to be mad at Errol Spence for his team having built in better fights for Errol Spence to fight? And then, you know, jockeying for position. They didn't put why didn't Pacquiao fight Ruslan Provodnikov? They were on the same side. I would have rather see that than Algieri, because at least Ruslan has a puncher's chance. Pacquiao had been knocked out by a lightweight that moved up in Marquez. We know Ruslan has trill power, you know, real deal power. So, you know, PBC, by fighting Shawn Porters and trying to make Spence Pacquiaos and Thurmans and Pacquiao, Thurman, you know, that's the smart thing to do, to be honest. And that's no different than what Top Rank has done. Top Rank makes the fight that they wanted to make, you know. Pacquiao and Cotto, I know they were both trained with Freddie Roach. I would have rather see a Pacquiao-Cotto rematch, you know, when they were fighting, like when Cotto came back and stuff after the Austin Trout fight, than some of the fights that Cotto did with Delvin Rodriguez and shit like that. So it's just the reality of it. Top Rank, they do a lot of in-house fights, you know. They do a lot of in-house fights and they pull the trigger when they want. So why is this immediate rush? And to me, I think it's more, I'm not saying Crawford wouldn't take it. I'm not saying Errol Spence wouldn't take it. But from Bob Arum, I think it's kind of more of a patsy, to be honest. So when you know you have Crawford fighting, they're putting this bug in the fans' ear to jog up that conversation. So to make it look like Errol Spence is ducking or something like that. And ultimately, that's because they know they don't have as many options. So at least they have a fall guy. You know, they could be like, oh, we told you. We were desperately tweeting and desperately trying to make the Errol Spence fights, right? But what about when Floyd was trying to fight Pacquiao? You know, they weren't in a rush to force Pacquiao to do a drug test to lock that up. What about when Pacquiao could have fought Crawford in-house, both with Top Rank at the time? They didn't make that fight, you know? So it's no different. You know, Pacquiao, he was the cash cow, and they tried to preserve that. Pacquiao could have fought Danny Garcia when he was undefeated, but they didn't want to work with PBC, you know? Or they would offer whatever they want to offer. Notice Pacquiao didn't fight Broner either when he was undefeated. But then Pacquiao's first fight with Al Heyman, you see how easy the Broner fight happened. You see Pacquiao in the ring with Errol Spence. You see Pacquiao versus Shawn Porter conversations. Pacquiao Maidana conversation. Pacquiao might fight Keith Thurman, but how come these fights weren't a reality when he was with Top Rank? So again, it's nothing personal. It's always business. And I'm out. That's really what it is. So, you know, I know people want to see the fight, but you have to understand the politics and the power that be. And realistically, PBC here, not really doing anything different than what Arum and people have done. That's just a fact. If you disagree, let me know factually what you disagree with. Like I said, how is it that Top Rank didn't get Crawford versus Pacquiao and pull the trigger on that? And Pacquiao was a WBO champion and everybody respected Crawford. He was undefeated, still is undefeated. But they didn't get that in-house fight done because they didn't want to, or his team or somebody, you know, didn't pull the strings. But then now you're expecting Errol Spence and Crawford just got to the division and he's a champion. And Spence has all these options in-house to build him up and keep getting unifications and keep growing his buzz and stuff like crazy to make him the A-side. But now there's a rush knowing that there's promotional roadblocks and speed bumps with the different networks. So please explain that. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego. Signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.